Welcome, friends. Today I'm going to share with you how I make our family's spaghetti sauce recipe. Now, in this video, this is going to be a triple amount, and it was for a function at our church. So we start with 3 pounds of Italian ground sausage, the sweet variety. I have 2 large jars of tomato sauce, fresh basil from our garden, onions, garlic, brown sugar gets added. I forgot to pull it out. Mushrooms, they can be baby bella or white. Also, you want some sort of Cabernet Sauvignon to go in it as well, and you will see that later. So here I am just starting to prep the onions. You want to go ahead and before you start anything, get all of the onions chopped along with the mushrooms. And again, this is a triple recipe, so it's going to be a lot more. Now, if you have a large family, it should work. This spaghetti sauce is wonderful the night of, but even better the next day. So the longer it sits, it is great for taking meals to people, functions where you have like a potluck style dinner or lunch is good for that as well. So it's just a really great meal, especially as we're coming into the fall and the cooler temperatures. It's always so nice to have some of these meals. Now, this can be prepped ahead of time and then put into a crock pot to stay on warm for the remainder of the day until it's time to eat, or you can just do it on the stove and leave it on low. It even can be put together within 30 minutes. Again, the longer it sits, the more the flavors have a chance to marry together. However, you can put this together in about 30 minutes and then be ready for dinner as well. So as you can see, I'm just doing a chop on the onions. It can be whatever size you like. We tend to like a little bit of a medium chop to it because they will start to cook down and then they will soften some and be a little bit smaller as they cook down. As you can see, all the onions and mushrooms have been chopped up, so we're going to go ahead and set them aside, and I'm going to separate the basil leaves on the plant that I had brought in. Now you can, I don't really have a measurement for the basil. I just choose how much I want to put in there. I feel like the more the better with this. And again, as the spaghetti sauce sits for the next day, that basil will infuse the spaghetti sauce even more. That's why I think it's even more flavorful the next day. So just add it as much as you'd like, but just collect the leaves. You don't have to rinse them off. And you just want to put them into one big pile with the largest on the outside and then the smallest ones on the inside. Roll it up and then just slice it. And it is super easy, and then you're good to go. And just set this aside because this will get added in last. All right, so now I've got a pan on the stove. I'm going to be heating up the oil. You want to make sure that it's hot. I don't think I let it get super hot when I had made this, but it's okay if you don't. You just want to start to heat up your pan. So again, keep in mind that this recipe is triple the normal amount. So at this point, if you were just doing a single batch, it's just the 1 pound of the sweet Italian ground sausage. So you go ahead and add that in. And get your sausage starting to cook. As you can see, the oil is starting to get hot, so it is starting to warm up in the pan. This is a 7-quart pot, and you will see towards the end of the video that it took every bit of that 7-quart pot to fit this triple size recipe. So from here, I'm just going to start to break up the sausage. You want to get it into nice chunks. And again, this could be a personal preference. I like to make sure that they're not huge chunks, but there are chunks of Italian sausage in there. I don't want it as fine as how I maybe would do ground beef for, say, like tacos. So just want to get it broken down so it can start cooking. And then from here, you're just going to go ahead and let everything begin to brown up. And after a little while, we're going to add in the onions and the mushrooms as well. All right, so now you can see the sausage is starting to brown in the pan. And so from here, I'm going to add in the garlic. It's about a teaspoon or so of chopped garlic. You can either use the pre-chopped fresh, or even garlic powder. That choice is yours, and you can increase or decrease the amount that you would like to use. That's really a personal preference. I did not want to add too much garlic to this dish, only because this was for a function, and so I didn't want to overwhelm people as well, because you never know exactly who really loves the garlic or who doesn't love. So finding that happy medium seems to work really well. And so from here, you're going to go ahead and just give everything a good stir, get it mixed in, because you want to get those vegetables down to the bottom as well. So that way the onions and mushrooms can start to sweat and cook down. And so from here, you're going to put everything. I know it's kind of overwhelming. The pot was really full, but as it begins to cook down, you will see it'll shrink in size. But you also want in the pan that if you have a non-stick pan, it will be a little bit more difficult to get some of those pieces to stick to it. But if you have a stainless steel, you will get those bottom pieces to kind of caramelize and almost look like they're stuck to the pan. So when you get to this point of everything being done, you want to drain it off, but leave some pieces at the bottom of your pot. Now again, this was nonstick, so you can see some caramelization, but not a whole lot. So I actually wound up putting some of the mixture back in the pan, turning it up, and letting it cook just a little bit longer, because I'm just trying to draw out a little bit more flavor. With a stainless steel pan, it's going to be stuck, and so you want to deglaze the pan. As you can see, a little bit of it is now stuck with the red wine. So from here, I used approximately a half to 3/4 cup of red wine to deglaze the pan. Now don't worry, as you are cooking it, the alcohol will evaporate. You won't actually taste the red wine, but what it will do is enhance the flavor, give it a richer, almost like a full body flavor to the spaghetti sauce. It's really good. But again, if you don't want to use red wine, or you cannot, you can deglaze with, honestly, just a touch of water. You can use a beef broth if you like, just a little bit, even just some hot water with a little beef broth base to it will deglaze it as well. All right, so once all of the sausage, onions, and mushrooms have been deglazed and everything is put back in the pan, you're going to add in the spaghetti sauce as well. And so I believe these were 28 to 32 ounce size jars. They were pretty large jars. Again, this was for a large function at our church, so it was to feed quite a few people. So just give it a good stir. Make sure everything's well incorporated, because you are wanting to heat this through as well while it is still on the stove. Now, if you are prepping this ahead of time and you want to put it in your crock pot, just give it a good stir and then stick it in there. It'll be good. Just keep an eye on it. You'll want to stir it periodically over the next several hours as it sits in the crock pot. So I also went ahead and added a little water to each spaghetti jar and gave it a good shake. You want to get out, a lot of times the spaghetti sauce is thick, and so that just pulls some of that extra sauce from the jar, and you can put it in there. That little bit of water won't make a difference in the impact of the flavor. You don't even notice it. So from here, as it's starting to boil, I'm going to be adding in some salt, and you want to do this to taste, so just add a little bit. You can always add more, but you can never take it back out. I'm also adding in some pepper, and then I'm adding in some brown sugar. For this triple recipe, I added in a half a cup of brown sugar. Now, a lot of people add sugar to their spaghetti sauces or tomato-based meals because it cuts down on the acidity. I have found that the brown sugar works really well in this spaghetti sauce because it adds richness to the spaghetti sauce, just like the red wine does as well. So, but if you cannot have the added sugar, you can also add in some baking soda, maybe about a teaspoon of baking soda, and you will see it will bubble up, and you just stir that in, and that'll help break down the acidity as well. So from here, I'm adding in the fresh basil, and you just give it a good stir. You want it to mix in. I'm also adding in some additional salt, so clearly there wasn't quite enough salt there, but again, keep in mind you can always add more, but you cannot take out if it's too much. So anyways, give it a good stir and then let it simmer. Now, once the spaghetti sauce is done simmering, it is really time to enjoy. And so you can serve this over any type of pasta. Don't forget the garlic bread. That is always super yummy for this one. And again, this spaghetti sauce is even better the next day. So I also, if I make a big batch, I will freeze some of it as well. It does really well in the freezer. I just place it in a freezer safe container, and then I pull it out. I let it thaw just a little bit, and then I throw it into a crock pot, usually typically a smaller one, and then just let it warm up throughout the day. And then that way we can enjoy the spaghetti again another time. And so I just want to thank you guys for joining me today as I shared with you our family's spaghetti recipe. My mom created this years ago, and I think just about all of us now make this recipe. It really is our go-to spaghetti sauce. It's the only one I use. I've tried to make a different one just to test the waters a little bit with my family, and they wanted nothing to do with it. So this is the winner. So, anyways, thank you guys again for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch my video.